and get started. It's right up at 5 o'clock. We may have some folks trickle in, we will see. But just to give you a few updates on our program and kind of where we are, Giselle and I actually have a meeting next week to launch our closed Facebook page. And so stay tuned for that. We will send a mass email out with the link and that sort of thing, and that every class and support group will have like a link that you can barcode scan if you need to join. But I think that will be a good way to remind people, hey, we got cooking class tomorrow night, or you know, hey, something great has just started. So for those of you who haven't heard, we did create a recipe wall based off of all of the recipe cards that we've been doing collectively over all of these cooking classes. And so by the end of the year, we should have about 80 recipe cards there on display for our patients. So whether you're there to see the dietitian or you're there for the clothing closet, whatever, you guys can come and pick out of those recipe cards. Speaking of the clothing closet, it's going to be called the Berry Boutique. That is in progress. We actually gained access to that space last Friday, and we are in the process of setting up and decorating it. We did secure a volunteer actually through Volunteer Services here at the hospital who's going to help you know, kind of stage things and get everything set up. So I would say probably in the next month or so we will have the clothing closet ready for patients to come and shop. So I will come around. Did both of you already just sign in, or do I need to bring it to you? I'll bring it to you. No problem. I'll get it for you. Anything else, Giselle, that I haven't talked about? Facebook, we just talked about clothing closet.
Yeah, the clothing closet is looking really nice, so that's exciting.
I'm trying to think. We've got some other stuff coming up, but anyway, that's the big stuff. So without further ado, this class today was requested by one of our patients. I don't remember who it was, but somebody said, can we please do breakfast for dinner? Good. Okay, well, good. So we did this just for him. All right, so Chef Cram, take it over.
Okay. Okay, well, welcome everybody. Like Amy said, I've come up with didn't come up, I did some research and found some recipes that seem pretty promising. And one thing that I really liked is that they're made in muffin tins, which I think is really easy. You just kind of add the ingredients in layers in the muffin tins, pop it in the oven, and it's very stress-free. You just wait until the egg cooks or the egg rises a little bit, and you're good to go. And once it's done, you could even individually wrap them in plastic wrap and refrigerate them for a few days. So you can make a few thinking, well, maybe this is going to be my breakfast for the next 3 or 4 days. And that way you make food in bulk and you don't have to cook as much. You wake up in the morning, just grab the egg muffin and heat it up real quick in the microwave. Okay? So you can find with you 3 recipes. The first recipe that we're going to make is a tomato herb mini frittata. So a frittata is an Italian dish that resembles kind of like an omelet or like a crustless quiche. This one, I'm making a healthier version. Typically they call for half and half and a good amount of cheese. So what I'm doing is I'm substituting that half and half for the 1% milk. So there still is a little bit of fat in there. It's not completely skim. And I'm going to use a moderate amount of cheese. And the cheese that I bought is also reduced fat cheese, which is quite interesting. I feel like a few years ago it was easier to find reduced fat cheese in most stores. But when I went to some of the popular stores, I couldn't find it. And I'm like, how come this is now a specialty item that you have to go to a little bit more expensive grocery store? But unfortunately, I had to do that to be able to find it. But I did find it, and all the cheese that we're using today is reduced fat. So hopefully you will enjoy it. One really cool thing about this is that you can focus on the base of the recipe, and then you can switch up the vegetables and the toppings whichever way you would prefer. So it's kind of like a blank canvas, and you can do whatever you like with it. Okay? Someone commenting here earlier today, this patient said, oh, what I do is I just look in my refrigerator and see what kinds of vegetables I have, and I just throw them in there. I think that's great, instead of going to the grocery store and buying for a specific recipe, because that way you reduce waste. You can use the vegetables that you have available. So like I said, we're doing tomato herb frittata. So the first thing that we're going to do, I'm making a whole lot. So I have 12 eggs here, which I'm going to drop onto the food processor. Hopefully I don't make a mess of myself here.
Good job.
Good job, right? Thank you. You know, a chef, I worked in restaurants for a little while, and the chef told me if it's something that's clunky, well, I did not do that right now, something that's clumpy, like marinara sauce, you want to throw it fast. If you go little by little, it'll splash a lot, but if you do it real quick without hesitating, then you don't get as dirty. I did not do that right now, but thank goodness it still worked out. So we've got the eggs, and I've got the 1% milk. Actually, this milk is from a local farmer here in Georgia, from Clermont Farms. I found the milk in one of the grocery stores, and then when I was driving towards Helen, I saw the farm on the way there. I'm like, that is so cool. Those are probably the cows that made my milk. So that just made it so much more special, I feel. So now I'm gonna stick to this milk. So that's the milk I'm using today. I'm doubling up the recipe, so I'm using a cup for this one, but you just follow the recipe card that you have, or if that seems like too much, you can even have that recipe and it would still come out really good.
Was that 2 cups of milk you put in there?
Huh?
Was that 2 cups of milk you put in there?
2 cups.
Okay, so you have 24 eggs.
Oh, sorry. No.
You'll need 24 eggs.
I did. Oh my gosh, why did I say 12 eggs? I'm sorry. I have 24 eggs in there.
Oh, okay.
Yes, yes.
All right.
You guys probably thought, oh no, she ruined her recipe. No, yeah, 24 eggs because I doubled the recipe and I have 2 cups of milk.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you. I just said that to make sure that you guys were paying attention. Yeah. Okay, and then we're gonna blend that with the next 2 ingredients. Now, as I was prepping, I mixed the oregano with the salt and pepper, so the dry oregano is gonna go in there as well, but that's gonna work perfectly fine. So I'm gonna throw that in there. Give it a nice blend. I wonder why, because this is closed. It's okay. I can clean that up. And you know, when I saw this recipe, I thought, interesting how they use a blender to make this, because if I would have done it at home, I would probably just grab a whisk and whip it, right? And I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna follow the recipe, and I think that this method is going to change the texture of it. And it did. It was actually a really nice texture. Okay, so that's that, and we're gonna keep that there for now. And so the next step is to grab your pans. They have to be 1 cup deep. And we're gonna spray them so that they don't stick. Just a quick spray. The good thing about this is you can control how much fat goes into it. Some people like to butter it, but in that way it takes a lot more, bumps up the calorie count, so this spray works really, really well, okay? So this was supposed to be a parsley and oregano mixture, but the oregano went in there. No worries, I'm gonna go ahead and put some in each one. So I'm going to eyeball this, just kind of get an idea. This is something that you can decide how much you want, because you decide how much parsley you want in your muffin tin. So just gonna do about a tablespoon. Oh, and when I chopped this parsley, I had to rinse the parsley before, and what that does is that it makes the parsley really wet. So what I did is after I chopped it, I took paper towels, a bunch of them. I put the parsley in the middle, and I covered the parsley with a paper towel and push it down with my body weight to really get out that moisture from it. Because if you have too much moisture in the parsley, that can change, the final product. So those are the little steps that they do make a difference at the end of the day. So put some bottom of each one. Almost had it perfectly there. Okay, so then the next step is we're going to put the layer of cheese. So each one will have 2 tablespoons of cheese.
Can you slide your muffin tin a little closer?
Oh, so you can see?
So, yeah, I can actually see it. There, yeah, perfect.
Oh, perfect.
Perfect. I'm sitting here watching the screen.
Good, thanks. Yeah, definitely, shout out, because I don't look behind me. Okay, so I'm gonna put 2 tablespoons in each, and I think the cheese, this is a 4 blend Italian cheese. I think this really provides that good flavor to the eggs, and the good thing is that we're not getting as much of the fat because we got the reduced fat one. So,
use a sharper cheese and use less of it? Because
You
it would
could.
have a stronger flavor.
yeah, you could. The good thing about this kind of cheese is that melts really well in the frittata. But yes, you can do that. Okay. And then I've got some cherry tomatoes, and the original recipe that I got the inspiration from recommended to cut the cherry tomatoes just in half, but then when I tasted it, I thought that the cherry tomato was too much of a big bite in my mouth, and let me tell you, I love tomatoes. So for me to say that, I feel like I thought, well, maybe my patients would definitely prefer if they were cut up in smaller pieces. So what I did is I quartered them. So hopefully that does make a difference. I haven't tasted it that way, but that's how, when you try recipes, you don't have to completely give up on the recipe right away. You can just think, okay, what things can we do a little bit differently so that it tastes better? And just even the way that you cut your vegetables can make a difference. So I'm gonna put some in the bottom. Anyone here dislikes tomato entirely? No? Okay, good. I love tomatoes. Today for lunch I had tomatoes that someone brought in from their garden. I've never seen tomatoes that red, and they tasted so good. It just reminds me really of the difference getting your produce from farmer's market, or if you know someone that grows their own vegetables, or even growing your own. I don't know if anyone here does that. Grow their own vegetables?
I try.
Vegetable garden, you try. Okay. Yeah.
I'm not nervous to grow, but my dogs like the garden too much.
Oh, your dogs like the garden. Yeah, someone told me.
Dirt. They want to roll and dig in the dirt. So.
The fresh dirt, right? Yeah. You need a fence.
Yeah. Well,
a tall fence.
We do.
Okay. All right. So we got that. And now we're gonna pour this. It's gonna be a little bit challenging here, but we'll make it work. but I have, oh, I can use the one that I use for the milk. So have I shared my frustration with this faucet? It's a very high-tech one, and it's supposed to make your life easier. No, it doesn't. So I'm gonna do this on top of the sink. All right, so you're just gonna pour the egg on top and just fill it almost to the rim. And these rise really nicely. Well, I hope they do today. They did when I made them at home. I thought they were so pretty. I didn't expect that. I thought the egg was just gonna cook, but they, oh, you know how souffles rise? It rose really nicely. And I was like, oh, that's so pretty. We eat with our eyes. So just seeing that makes me so much happier. I feel like that just made the recipe that much better. Okay. A little bit more. With this dish, you got some protein from your eggs and your cheese. You got some vegetables with your tomatoes, and you can add more if you want to. Some fresh herbs. So you know.
Could you add turkey bacon?
You could, yes, absolutely. That will give it another layer of flavor and more protein. So yeah, I'm gonna put this on a. This is on a 450-degree oven. This took a while to get to that point, and this is a very high-tech oven. So that's the first thing that you want to do before you. Oh, that needs a little bit more. Before you start cooking, because then you're gonna have everything ready, and then you have to wait for the oven to warm up, and you don't want to put the eggs in there if the oven is not up to temperature.
One thing I use, which is wonderful, Jimmy Dean makes turkey crumbles, and it's pre-cooked crumbled turkey. So you can, you know, like get a spoonful and put it in the bottom, and it's already measured out. And
Yeah.
cooked, so it's if you want your meat in there too, but the crumbles are great.
I'm telling you, this is a blank canvas. So you can just do the same egg milk mixture and just swap out the other ingredients whichever way you prefer. Okay. All right, so that'll take about 20 minutes. What I'm gonna do is, this has a light in it because we can't just go by the clock. We also have to look at it. So it's supposed to rise from the top of the pan, and then I'm gonna pull it out when it gets a little bit brown on the top. That's when I'm gonna pull it out. Okay. So let's get started with the next one. Okay. So this is your excellent breakfast cups. And as you can see, this takes a little bit of a Mexican flair to it. So the first thing that we're going to do again is spray the muffin tins. Okay. And then we're gonna put some black beans and some fresh onions in the bottom. I'm gonna use the same tablespoon. So a tablespoon of each. And actually, Amy, my supervisor, she did some one version of like an egg muffin as well recently, and she told me that she put garlic powder in it. I just thought it was interesting because I don't know why I've never thought of adding garlic powder to my eggs, but I can see that bringing another level of flavor to it. And the good thing is that it doesn't have salt, so you're adding flavor without the need of more salt. So, you know.
Tins of those.
These are smaller, yes, because we're only gonna crack one egg right on top. I actually made it with 2 eggs, and you can, and for that one you can use the 1 cup deep ones. But I ate, because I like to taste what I'm going to produce, and I was very full after those 2 eggs, and I thought, my patients, they've got a restrictive aspect to it, so I wanted to make sure that I created something that you felt that you could, finish.
You're ready to watch this, right?
Yes. But if you feel that 2 eggs is more appropriate for you, you can absolutely do that. And one way to keep the calorie on the lower end is you can crack 1 egg with the egg yolk, and the other one just keep the egg white on top. So that way it stays lower calorie, even though you've got the 2 eggs, and you still get the protein from the 2 eggs. So I'm gonna do the onions. So I'm thinking right in this stage is where it might be good to add some garlic powder. I'm not gonna lie, I love cooking, but when I'm cooking for other people, I don't like to experiment. So that's something that maybe you can try at home and see. Definitely next time that I do it, I'm gonna go ahead and try it.
Also put the tomatoes in this one too.
The tomatoes in what?
Did you not put the tomatoes in this one too if you wanted to?
This is going to have salsa on top as a topping, yes.
Have you guys seen this recipe where you, instead of putting it in the tin, you can put it in half of a bell pepper? I did that this weekend. That was pretty neat.
So that's, you see, there's just so many ways to make these. Okay. All right, this is the fun part. I love cracking eggs. I don't know why. So, and actually, as you can see, I like to crack my eggs on a flat surface. And actually, 1 eggshell just fell in there. The best way to get it out is using the eggshell. Just like that. So I got it out. So use the eggshell as a scoop because it's so thin. It's easy to grab. Okay. I can hear the chefs that train me in the back. Hurry up! We don't have much time. Go, go, go! I'm like, okay. Working in the kitchen, I did learn a lot of really good skills, but hey, I give it to these people that do that for a living. It's in my opinion, very stressful environment, and you have to be able to think 100% clearly under a lot of stress. And well, I'm not cooking in restaurants anymore, so I just learned, I love cooking, I love food, but in the restaurant environment, it's just so fast-paced. Yeah, maybe not my thing. I like this setting much better.
Should.
Yes. Yeah, and I love cooking when I'm at home. Put some music and just throw some moves while I'm,
Get your steps in for the
get your
day.
steps in. Yeah. There's a joke out there that Hispanics put music in the background for everything that they do. Cleaning, cooking. And I'm like, you know what? That's
It's a lot more
true.
fun when you can dance around while you're doing it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my.
I'll go get you a velvet.
So these are gonna cook really fast. That's why I decided to make them second. And the time is also relative, how much time you want to put it in the oven, because it just depends on how you like your egg yolks. So if you like them soft, if you like them medium or hard, then you just pull it out sooner or leave it for for a few minutes. Today I'm going to make it more closer to completely cooked, just to be safe when it comes to the temperature stuff. Pathogens. I'm gonna go ahead and so you want to open and close that oven as quickly as possible. Ideally, you wouldn't open that oven when you're making the frittatas. You want to try and not peek, but I have to just for the purposes of the class. but it helps that rising happen much like consistently. So you want to, once they're in there, don't peek. Turn on the light like I did. If you're gonna peek like this, and that's it, but don't open the oven. Okay, so that'll take around 15 to 20 minutes. Move this stuff here. Okay, and then the last recipe that I'm going to make today is the protein smoothie. So when I think about protein shakes, I typically think like chocolate, vanilla, kind of peanut butter flavors. And when I learned that you can make protein shakes with more like citrusy fruits, I thought, oh, I don't know why I never thought about that. But so I got this recipe. I tried different kinds of recipes, and this was the simplest one, and it was the winner. So this one calls for orange juice, 50% that has 50% less sugar. This one uses stevia, which is a natural 0-calorie sweetener. Okay, and then you would use the unflavored protein powders. The unflavored protein powder, of course, doesn't have any flavor, but the aftertaste can be a little bit different depending on what brand you use. So you just experiment with different brands. And then ice. Okay.
How many did we sample? Do you remember?
Oh, we sampled a ton. We sampled like maybe like 4 different kinds, and each kind we made it like 2 or 3 different ways. And yeah.
I had to cleanse my palate between.
Oh yeah. Amy, I felt bad because I kept bringing her cups. Here, taste this one. And they were grading it. I think that the protein powder, especially the flavored ones, can bring kind of like an aftertaste and give a certain texture to the smoothie that maybe is not the most pleasing. So we were trying to figure out a balance between flavor and texture, and that's why this one won. So Amy cleaned up this for me, blender. Do any of you have any questions so far about the recipes, or any thoughts, comments? Do you have a favorite protein shake recipe that you like to make?
What kind of protein powder did you use?
Oh, for this particular recipe, I'm using Unjury protein powder. That's the brand. And it's a unflavored protein powder, so it doesn't have any flavor at all. Unjury is UNJURY.
Like injury, but really.
Oh, that's a good way to say it. Yeah.
Bariatric Advantage makes unflavored and vanilla, that would both be good substitutes for this too.
Yeah.
I use Inspire brand, and they come in like 20 different flavors, and a lot of times I use the vanilla in mine. And something I tried just a couple weeks ago, and I've never done it before, and actually I'm hooked. I had some fresh cantaloupe, and I'm like, I've got to eat this. It's getting really soft. You know?
Oh yeah.
And I threw just cantaloupe and vanilla low-fat yogurt and protein powder, and oh my gosh, it was delicious. I'm like,
sounds really good.
I'm going for cantaloupe smoothies now.
Well, it sounds like you're really good at improvising, because I had to try like 15 different recipes before I got one that I liked. I was like,
I have like 4 or 5 different flavors of protein powders, so it depends on what I'm making as to what I'll use. Like if I've got blueberries and blackberries, I have the blueberry cheesecake flavored protein powder.
Yeah.
So I'll toss that in. So I just mix and match, and it usually comes out pretty good.
oh, well, that's good. Yeah.
I've used fresh watermelon.
That sounds good too.
Unflavored, and then like some sugar-free lemonade mix, and then ice, and it tastes like like the slushies you get from.
That sounds really
Yeah,
good.
that sounds really
Sounds
good.
real good.
You know, one thing that I tasted on a smoothie one time, and I was trying to figure out how to incorporate it here, and then my ideas took me somewhere else. But fresh mint on smoothies adds like another layer of flavor that is very interesting in a good way. When I had it, this was a smoothie that had some blueberries, some coconut flavor in it and fresh mint. It was very different. The only thing is that mint is not something that most patients have in their refrigerator fresh, so maybe you would have to purposely go and get some for that recipe, but that's something that you can give a try. It like gives almost like a freshness to the beverage.
That'd be good with the watermelon too.
Yeah, yeah. That would be. So I have 3 packets of the unflavored protein powder, which I'm just gonna toss right in there. And going to do 3/4 of a cup, no, 1.5 cup of the orange juice. Let me mix this. I always like to shake my beverages before I use them. Okay. And this product, I also found it in orange mango flavor too, so it gave it a little bit different twist. So that's 1 cup.
Imagine if you used vanilla with this, it would taste like a creamsicle.
So I actually, we tried, so here's the thing, we tried so many that I thought, okay, we need to make a decision because we're gonna run out of protein and then I'm not gonna have any for the cooking class. So we tried the vanilla with, it was fresh strawberries and I think orange juice. And I was thinking that that was gonna be the best one. I did not like it, and I think it was maybe that particular brand of protein powder. I think that's why you also have to experiment with different protein powders. Okay, this is getting stuck.
Have you ever tried adding a banana to it?
A banana too, yes. And bananas is something that, the only thing that I tell my patients is just to be careful how much banana, especially if you're shortly post-op, because I learned about a patient that got dumping syndrome with bananas. And you guys are all familiar with the dumping syndrome. And I was like, wow, really? That's how careful you need to be with the concentrated sugars. So banana, compared to other fruits, is more concentrated in its own natural sugars. It's still a healthy food, but it's one of those things that you just have to be careful, you know, how much you have it at a time if you're shortly post-op. So maybe like a bite at a time, but once, yeah, no, and that's why I'm saying that if I'm just giving a tip to those that haven't tried the banana after the surgery, because I heard that story from one of my patients. So now I always tell my patients, just be careful. If you haven't had banana yet after the surgery, just take it 1 bite at a time, because I know if someone...
For some people that don't dump primary dumping, they'll get secondary dumping. If they do high concentrated sugar, their blood sugar will crash like an hour later.
Yeah. That higher because I see some pieces of ice in there. Processor to make this smoothie, but really the best thing for making a smoothie is a blender. You would think that. So I was actually going to bring a blender, but I thought that with this would work out. I'm seeing that there are some pieces of ice that are still a little bit bigger than I would want them to, and I think that's because it's I'm not gonna open it because it reduces the temperature of the oven a lot, and it just disrupts the whole cooking process. So always turn on the light and peek, but don't open the oven. Okay, so we can go ahead and start serving these so they can sip on it. I can tell that there are some little pieces of ice in there. So if you have like a blender for smoothies, that will resolve that. And those chunks of ice were really tough, chunks of ice. Ooh. It almost looks like ice cream texture.
It does. For a ladle.
Oh, yeah. Let me give it a quick rinse.
Smell the eggs. I can't wait to try the salsa one. I like spicy stuff. My daughter's a vegetarian and she was like, ooh, I want to make that one.
Yeah.
This is very creamy.
Looks like ice cream.
It really does, you know?
Yeah, when we made it, it wasn't that creamy. Maybe I put more ice than last time. The ice really makes a difference in the texture. So I'm guessing I probably put more ice than I did the first time. But I like that texture. If anyone needs a spoon, we have one. We have some, so. Oh, I want to open the oven so bad.
I started watching the clock when you said, so we got like 2 or 3 more minutes
Okay,
for the 20-minute one.
in the first one that I put in. Okay. All right, let me take some of this stuff out of the way so I can top the excellent breakfast cup.
That was a cute name, by the way.
Right? Did you guys see the tool that I used? Sometimes you just gotta improvise.
Starting to get hungry.
I'll hand it back.
Oh, and I don't know if I've said this in the cooking classes, but it's always good to put like a wet towel or a few layers of wet paper towels underneath the cutting board so it doesn't slide on you. There's nothing more annoying than chopping and going like this. And you're like, so it's got to be a little bit thick, so it's better to use like a rag and just wet it and put it underneath, and then it's not going to slide as much. It is great. Such a neat trick. The pico de gallo that I'm using is already made. I have not tried different brands, so if there's a specific brand that you really like, then absolutely feel free to use that one. I tried this one and it was pretty good. It's a mild and it's very low sodium, which I liked. Tasted really good. So okay, I'm gonna take out the excellent ones because I want to top them with cheese and then put them back in for a few minutes for the cheese to melt. Look at my glasses.
Door open.
I was going to bring my contacts and I forgot. Ay, ay, ay. One of those things that happen to you when you wear such big glasses. Okay. So lasting. They're still not brown in the top, so I'm not gonna take them out. If they're lasting longer now is one, because we opened the oven in the middle of the cooking process. Well, this is technically 2 times already that I've opened it, and I'm making much more than what I did the first time. So the more frittatas inside your oven, the little bit longer it's going to take for it to cook. So if you're only making, let's say, like one of those 6 muffin ones, it's definitely gonna be somewhere around 20 minutes, no more than that. So these egg yolks are done. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna just pop it in for a few seconds and then take it out. So this is about 2 tablespoons that I'm putting on top of each of the reduced fat Mexican cheese. One recipe that I saw, they put a little bit of Tabasco in the bottom with the beans and the onions. The reason I did not go that route is because I know some of our patients are very sensitive to these spicy foods, so I wanted to go less spicy. But you know, if you tolerate spice and you like heat, then a few drops of Tabasco right there on top of the black beans would be a way of seasoning that. Okay. Okay. A little bit more of this one. Okay, I'm gonna pop it right back in. Oh my, you still have to take it from the store. Woo, those look good. Okay. Diced some fresh avocado. I've got some salsa, which I'm going to finish right on top. Okay, so that will be ready in a few minutes. I'll start my plating station here. Six, 7, 8, maybe 9. Yeah, it is. I'm hungry. Every time I come to this class, I'm like,
What, since we're talking about the subject of breakfast for dinner, what are your go-tos for breakfast in the mornings?
The bran cereal, just a little cup, and maybe just like a quarter of a banana chopped up.
Yeah, and the bran cereal has a good amount of fiber, which actually I forgot to mention. One of the things I really liked about the breakfast cups, the Mexican style one, is that the beans provide some fiber to that dish. I know that when you're trying to eat a higher protein diet, you tend to miss out a little bit on those vegetables or those grains or starchy vegetables that have the fiber. So some patients experience issues with constipation, so adding that tablespoon of black beans not only doesn't bring up the protein content, but adds some fiber to that to help, you know, regulate. Perfectly melted. And someone told me that they had, a few people told me that they had issues making these because the eggs would stick to the pan.
That was me.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say it was you. I was just going to keep it anonymous, but.
I think that's why I tried the bell peppers.
So I was like, trying to, I had never made them. I just thought they were a great idea, and that's why I brought this idea for you. So, you know, I went to the store, I got the pans, and they did not stick at all. Just with that, they came whoop, right out of the pan. So when I was going to do the class here, doing the grocery shopping yesterday, I thought I need to get exactly those muffin pans, just in case it was the brand that I bought. Because they did not stick at all. My thought was maybe the longer, the more years you've had these pans, they start losing that non-stick, you know. So, and they were really cheap. So don't worry about it. Just throw them out of the trash can and get new ones. Yeah. Don't even think about that twice. I'm gonna show you how easy it is to take these out. So what I did is just took 2 forks. So I'm like, okay, so they did not stick at all. Amy, can you help me here?
Absolutely.
Can you hold the plate so I can put the...
Yep.
Okay, next one.
This is what it's like to work in the
Faster, faster.
Next one.
They're slippery. Hang on. I can't wait to see the top of these.
They're so cute looking too. Is that it?
Yep.
Okay. So now I'm just going to use the same fork, and I'm going to... Anyone here does not want the salsa or the avocado on theirs? Okay. Let me go ahead and just start adding. So you want just a tablespoon. So because the reason I say a tablespoon is just that's the way to control, you know, the caloric content, because we're trying to make healthy food. But even with healthy foods, we could overdo the portion sizes, and that can contribute to more calories than you need. So pulling out measuring spoons is really helpful when you're trying to learn what's the right amount for you. And then hopefully with time, you just learn how to eyeball that, so you don't have to be pulling the measuring spoons all the time. Okay. And I chose pico de gallo, but you could do salsa, so it doesn't have to be pico de gallo, it can be pureed. It's perfectly fine. If you have a favorite brand, just go ahead and use that one. Now, the pico de gallo is essentially tomatoes, onions, and some kind of pepper. This is a very low-calorie food. So this, you can put pretty much as you want to give it the flavor that you like. You don't have to be worried about this part. These are the ingredients that fall in those non-starchy vegetables.
So there's no salt or pepper in this?
There is a little bit of salt in this.
Oh, no, I meant in the dish, like in the recipe.
No. I am trying to cover all the bases when it comes to healthy eating. That's why I thought that probably that garlic powder would be really good to bring up the flavor a notch. But I think that this salsa, if you're able to get a little bit of the salsa with each bite, it does bring up the flavor really nicely of the dish. Because we do get some patients here that have heart history, and they have to be very particularly, meticulous about their sodium intake or their retaining fluids or anything like that. So we try to cater for all the possible needs. Sorry, it's not you, it's me. I feel bad for people sometimes, like, huh? What? Okay. Oh, that's for me and you. All right. So these are starting to brown. Yeah, they're pretty much done. Maybe another minute.
This is clean.
Yeah. Oh, and does anyone need a knife? Yep. You're good? Okay. And again, you can make this your own. So let's say, if you like the egg softer, you just pull it out sooner. If you want more depth of flavor, then maybe add some dry herbs or seasonings to it to bump up the flavor. So this is kind of like a blank canvas, and you can make it your own. Do you want some? Make sure that it's cooked.
This is a really good non-stick pan.
Was it what?
Non-stick pan.
Yeah.
Your steak in here.
Okay. So since there's plenty for everyone, I'm gonna dissect one and make sure that it's cooked. I think that needs another minute. Okay. What do you guys think? Awesome. And the good thing is, I chopped this onion, but really you can get chopped onions from the grocery store. So the prep time should not be long. The black beans, all I did was rinse them and drain them. So you can keep drained and rinsed beans in a Ziploc bag or in a glass, like airtight container inside of your refrigerator to use for different recipes. So when you kind of stock your refrigerator that way, it makes it easier to be able to, prepare recipes like this. And beans is something that the leftover beans from this recipe you could add to pretty much anything. Yeah. Yeah. She's saying salads, casseroles. You can make some stewed beans, just that for your meal. I should probably eat a little bit while this is done. Make sure that it did come out good. I like my eggs soft, so when I made it at home, and you can tell in the picture, it's a little bit on the softer side. So, right? Yeah. So, and it's pretty impressive how all the different ingredients really bring up the flavor without having to add much to it. That cheese is pumping up the flavor. I rinsed the beans, so really all that salt and the water that's around it, I rinsed all that out. I chose the lowest sodium salsa, but it still tasted really good. Sometimes we think salt is really what makes things taste good. And the fresh avocado. I mean, I could put avocado. Oh my gosh, I could put avocado on everything. Oh. One time in college, I was so embarrassed. I said to everyone in class that I eat a lot of avocados because I have a guacamole tree in my backyard. Because I come from Puerto Rico, so I was trying to tell them that I used to eat a lot of avocados because I have an avocado tree. And I said, because I have a guacamole tree. And they're like, okay, you're coming from Puerto Rico, but we know that kind of thing doesn't exist. Okay, I'm going to pull this out.
I'd like to see.
Hmm?
I'd like to see.
Cut open the avocado and guacamole falls out.
Okay.
So just anything made with the egg mixture will probably continue to cook after you take it out
Mm-hmm.
as well.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, that's a good point. It's just that this particular one, when I made it at home, is a very interesting texture. I really liked it, so I hope you guys like it. But it was a very soft, kind of moist texture, but moist in a good way because you don't necessarily want to have watery eggs. But it was really nice, so I just wanted to make sure that I get it to the right temperature so it's not too moist. So let's go ahead and serve some. And don't feel bad about not eating the whole thing because I know the two of them together is a good amount of food. Because, I mean, this is meant to be just one portion.
Look how tall.
Whoops.
That is pretty. It's a baby quiche.
Oh, I should have grabbed a fork. A baby quiche.
It is. It's very pretty. You see from the top?
You know what? Now that I'm looking at it, this one is more brown, so maybe a little bit less time. Although this one looks pretty good on this side, so that usually you want browning in your foods, but the eggs are the ones that you want to avoid a little bit of that browning.
I think putting the eggs in the food processor or the blender makes them fluffier.
Fluffier,
Yeah,
it's
it's higher than the stuff I've done at home.
okay. You might need a knife now. You think? I don't know.
All I'm gonna take is one bite.
Okay.
I'm full.
Yeah,
I've hit
yeah.
my-
No, it
hit
is
my
a lot of
wall.
food. So you got one. You got one.